What's up? What's up? We are live at Diversitech 2025. Devon here, MYB Fractional. MYB Fractional is a fractional program that pairs small businesses and entrepreneurs with fractional C-suite executives, your CEO, COO, CFO, CMO, all the C-suites. We have it for you. We're pairing them up with entrepreneurs to help them take them to the next level, to help come up with a plan, a strategy to build for you. So if you're interested, go to mybfractional.com, mybfractional.com, apply, applications are ready, go check it out. But we got my guy here. Listen, this is one of my old friends here. I mean, like, we have, what was the last time we talked?
Man, it might have been, whew, we talk about
Years,
maybe
bro.
2013, 2014.
I'm telling you. But as soon as I saw him at Diversitech, it was like just like divine, bro. Like, I'm so glad that we connected. But tell the people who you are, tell them what you do, and we just gonna get into it. We just gonna get into it.
Pleasure to be here. What's up, y'all? Armando Jimenez, he, him, his. I go by Mondo. Rooted out of Connecticut, Hartford, Connecticut to be exact. I am the founder and chief engagement officer of the Tailored Compass. And the Tailored Compass is a consulting firm designed to help you along your journey, wherever you need to go, because we all trying to go somewhere. Let us help you get there. Really designed and focused around organizational development, cultural strategy, partnerships, and best practices to really understand, like, how do we humanize what we do on a day-to-day basis. I think, it's so many moving parts, and so I have the benefit, but the privilege to really sit back and say, let's go back to the foundational roots of understanding the humans that carry out the work that we're trying to provide from day in and day out.
Absolutely. And the thing that I love about the work that you do is that when people think about corporate entities, when people think about the business of these large organizations, they get like a cold feeling of it, right? It's like, oh, I'm just a cog in the wheel. This is just corporation stuff. But the work that you do, you bring purpose into that environment. Like, you're that light in that environment. Talk more about the work that you've done and like how you're able to kind of provide that purpose in an environment like that.
Absolutely. So I've had the opportunity to work at the Department of Defense. Worked in partnerships for a nonprofit that's been going strong, that worked with corporate partners. Specifically, my lane and my focus was to establish partnerships to make sure when they're recruiting, whether it's diverse talent or senior leadership or even middle management, to understand, like, what type of talent do you want to bring in? When you bring them in, how are you providing them the right tools for success? But all that begins with just knowing individuals, right?
Exactly.
I've been in the realm of education as well, everything from Ivy League, director level at an Ivy League school, to, building curriculums in an inner city town, to president of a private middle school for boys of color. And it wasn't about how well they did on their exams. It was about them understanding when they walk into a space and someone says good morning to them, how are you doing? They genuinely felt that I cared.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And I did some time in tech too, and I think, like, there's always the misnomers of, like, oh, somebody's an engineer, right? They focused on, they don't really got people skills. They're introverts. And it's you got the geniuses behind the scenes creating a product. Then you got the geniuses outside who need to sell it.
Exactly.
But how do you marry those two, right? How do you complement and contribute to both of those? Is you build connections with the heart and the mind.
Right.
And I think some of the biggest things in my role has always focused on, when things get a little rocky, always go back to the root of it. Understand, right, who that individual is, what makes them spark, what turns them away from things, right? What are their challenges, and what are their passions and aspirations, and how can you contribute to that?
Exactly.
But I think even for me, like, I'm blessed that people are like, man, you're a subject matter expert at this, right? And coming from you, man, that's like complete homage. Like, I'm humbled. But I'm just as much of a student, if not twice as much, because I'm learning it.
Right.
Like,
and you have to be a student in this, right? Because you don't know everything. You can always continue to learn. You can always sharpen your skills, right? And with the skills, like, what have you seen that's like a common thread through it? Because I look at you as a subject matter expert. Like, to me, you're a professional. To me, like, you got that work. You know what I'm saying? So, like, what has been the common thread have you seen within the different realms and different organizations that you work through that you can share with the people and kind of give a little insight about where you come in at and just make, sometimes it's just that small thing. Like, what is that small thing that you found that you come in and make such a grand difference?
That's a great question, and as you were asking, I'm formulating and thinking about the two things that really make a difference, and I learned it from myself. I'm super outgoing, extrovert. You notice, like,
Yeah.
like there isn't a mic I don't like, right?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And put me
it's funny because you're so chill right now. I'm like, yo, like, mine don't know how to turn it up. So this is a cool environment to see him in right now.
I appreciate that. I mean, providing the space. To your question, so the two things are communication, right? Professional, personal, intimate, business, sports. I've had great coaches. I've had great business partners, even as a people manager and people leader in previous roles. Communication, I'll peel the onion back a little bit more.
Yeah, please. Because people say communication is key, communication is important, but what about that communication? Like, let's get into that a little bit more.
Right. So when I say communication, again, still a student, is only because I say something doesn't mean it was received the same way by everybody.
Right.
How I'm communicating something can be very different to how someone's receiving it.
Absolutely.
I'm a dad. That's the greatest title I hold, right? How I communicate with my son is very different to how both sons, how they both perceive it, and my daughter, who's 16. So, communicating with her.
Yeah, you got a young adult in the house.
Right. You know, hey, Dad, I want to drive, right? Like, it's very different. But learning that communicating with someone, right, or speaking with someone is very different than speaking to or at someone.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what the pedigree or level of tenureship or what title you hold, right? Communicating, if I come to you and say, hey, man, how are you doing? Is it possible for me to share some insight with you, right? Or, hey, this is pretty cool. You know, I'm going to share this excitement. My excitement may not be what you're feeling. Right? Is it the way I communicated it? Or me saying, hey, I shared this information with you. Do you have any questions? Right? Big part of it, as much as I can provide communication, I need to be able to receive it and understand, like, let me ask questions for clarification and understanding, and not just to be like, I got you. Yeah, I don't have any. Right, so that's the first part. Second part is feedback. Feedback is a gift. If someone's willing to give you feedback, that means they see something that you can either do better. And let me also put out there that feedback is not negative. There's a connotation where we're like, oh, can I give you some feedback? All of a sudden it's like, okay, you're gonna tell me something I don't want to hear.
Yeah. Like what? Like there's different kind of feedback too, right? Because it's like, is the immediate feedback, is the I'll wait till your next review feedback. It's your, what kind of feedback do you like, and what kind of feedback do you implement within your training of people or overseeing of people in a management role? Like,
absolutely.
Just kind of think about feedback in that sense.
Yep, and I'll marry feedback and communication. To answer your question, type of feedback I like is give me feedback in the moment. When it's fresh.
Same, me too.
When I'm sitting in front of a crowd and I put a poll up, hey y'all, before y'all leave, go ahead and fill this two questions out about you, what you think the experience was like. It's fresh in your mind. And I want it now.
Exactly.
That's my money. I want it now, right? Like, but I think more so, I'd rather the feedback be fresh, right? And so, even with the manager's perspective, hey, Horace, you did a great job presenting in January. I shouldn't have to tell you that in December. To say, hey, you did a really great job. Here's some things I think you could do, or maybe you can include next time. So instead of me waiting until December to tell you at your annual evaluation, I now give you an opportunity to implement and make those changes if you'd like.
In real time.
So that in January, you can reflect, but in February, you've now implemented.
Exactly.
Communication, marrying it is, hey, is it okay if I provide you some feedback? And you might be in the moment saying, nah, I'm all set. As a coach, I coach high school sports, high school basketball to be exact. I can't come down on my players when they make a mistake in the moment because they're already beating themselves up. Like, man, I missed that free throw, or I missed an assignment. And you did this. Communicating, understanding, hey, you know what? The play is over. Let's go ahead and worry about the next one. Now, after the game, all right, y'all, what do y'all think we did well?
Yeah.
Right? What do y'all think we need to improve on? As a coach, is there anything y'all questioned? Right? And
That's a great that's a great leadership skill. That's a great leadership quality. And it is a skill. Like, you have to learn these things, learn how to do these things. I mean, again, you have that experience. You're a coach, you know, working with nonprofit, working with corporate partners, working with high, trained professionals. But that key of communication, feedback, but what you just said, which I was like, let's kind of dig deep into that. That is a leadership skill. A lot of people don't know how to give that feedback, how to start that conversation, like even how to approach that. So how can people build that muscle? How can people build that leadership skill?
I think the first, speaking for self.
Okay.
Because whenever I'm in rooms and speaking with people, I always speak from the best lens I can. It's yourself.
Right.
Need to get out your own way.
For sure.
Right? Like,
for sure.
CEO, any C-suite that you mentioned, right? Always remember there's a foundational position that you were potentially in. Never lose those fundamental, it's like, and I wasn't a science major by any means. I tried to skip sciences when I was in undergrad. But biology is the root and base foundation of any sciences that you can go to.
Right.
You're always going to have to carry it no matter how far along you go in your profession, your career, academically. You have to get out your own way and keep the foundation of like, okay, you know what? Let me listen.
Right, exactly.
Like, as a leader, like, I got all the energy to give you feedback.
Right.
Let me have the same energy to receive it.
For sure.
Right?
For
And
sure.
I can't get defensive, and I can't take it personal, right? And when I say we're in our own ways, I think, like, it's self-inflicted.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, well, he shared feedback with me. He just hating. Like, well, it's not hating.
Yeah.
Like, hating would have been like, I ain't going to tell you, man, you got something in your teeth.
Yeah.
Hating is like, your collar messed up, I'm not going to fix it, right?
Right.
Versus me saying, hey, man, let me go ahead and fix your collar because it's, right, it's just like, all right, man, I appreciate that, right? And I know I'm probably bouncing over the place, but I'm trying to build the bridges and relevancy
No, I'm following.
Right?
I'm following.
Like, you build that muscle, small steps, but always going back to your foundational base that core of, I have to be willing to accept this. Right? Like, it may be tough, it may not be desired, or sometimes I like when somebody pat me on the back and tell me I'm doing well.
For sure.
Right? But get out your own way.
Yeah, that's
I
self-sabotage.
had to get out my own way.
Yeah.
I'd criticize myself every single time, or people would share something, and instead of me saying thank you for the compliment, I could have done better.
Yeah.
Wait. Let me acknowledge the fact that you
100%.
acknowledge what I did.
100%.
Right? But I'm getting in my own way.
Yeah.
And I think as a leader, sometimes that's the biggest downfall.
Yeah.
Is we get in our own way, and sometimes we forget where the root and the foundation is at.
For sure. Man, I love that. I really do, because it's like a self-sabotage in a way, or people talk about imposter syndrome, or people hear like leadership and they're like, I'm a leader, I got to do all these things. But, a lot of it and a lot of mistakes come from us just getting in our own way, just getting in our own way.